Hello, I want to share with you today a quick tip slash suggestion about sanding and finishing your pen blanks between centers. I'd like to suggest that even if you turn with a mandrel or you turn between centers, that you consider sanding and finishing your pen blanks between centers. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I have a pen blank that I just finished turning. Now I'm using bushings to do this, to turn between centers. But even if you have a mandrel, you may want to also consider doing this. And so I've taken the bushings off, and now I'm going to put the blank directly between my 60-degree dead center and my 60-degree live center. Now whether you turn between centers or turn with a mandrel, you'll likely have a 60-degree live center, unless maybe you use a mandrel saver exclusively. If you turn between centers, you'll already have all of these items. The 60-degree dead center is not a very expensive item, and it's a good one to have. It'll also give you the opportunity to try turning between centers. If you've not done that at this point, you'll have the option to do that, whether you want to do that regularly or stick with the mandrel. That'll be totally up to you. But a couple of reasons that I do this. Number one is that if you sand with your bushings, then over time it's really difficult to not sand down the bushings somewhat. So sometimes you'll have to replace them every now and then, or maybe if you're really careful, you won't, but it requires a lot of sort of extra care. And also if you sand into the bushings a little bit, you can get some of that metal dust into a pen blank, and if it's a light color wood or material, that can lead you to some troubles. So this saves you from having to worry about that. You can sand between centers and not have any problems with that. I've been doing this for a while now after a friend suggested it, and it's worked out really well. Also for finishing, and this applies particularly if you're using a CA finish, which is very popular. I do the most CA finishes of any of the other options out there at this point. And one of the common things that people always ask about is, how do I get the CA not to stick to my bushings? And there's all sorts of good advice of ways to do that, and you can find other information about that different places. But if you apply your CA between centers, it really avoids that problem. If the CA sticks between the centers and the blank, it'll be only to a minimal extent, and they always remove for me pretty easily without any problems. You can wax your live and dead centers if you would like to as well. Will prevent CA from sticking to them quite as much. But what I do is simply, if CA builds up on these, and it does over time, I simply take my tool rest up to it, and I'll use a tool, either a screwdriver or an older turning tool that you don't really care about too much, to remove the CA buildup from both of the centers. So this is a method that's worked out really well for me, and I'd like you to consider maybe trying it. If you found this tip helpful, please like below and subscribe. There'll be many more tips coming up. Thank you and have a great day.